Hey guys, it's Velvet. I'm gonna do this video in English because, well, frankly, I feel like it's a topic that more people needs to understand and need to hear. And if you already read the title, this is gonna be about my weight loss and about like how I lost the weight that I did going keto. This is gonna be a super like non-scripted video. I'm just gonna do this. I've been thinking about doing this for forever, and I just never really have the time or the energy or like whatever to sit down and actually like talk about this. For you guys who have been following my YouTube channel, you probably noticed I've lost some weight. I am currently around 105 kilos. It goes up and down a little bit because, you know, water weight and whatever, and then you live your life, you know. I've always been a big person. Since my childhood, my brain has pretty much been fucking addicted to like refined sugar and white flour, jams, sugars in candies, and like even like the Frosties. And there's just so much sugar in our food, especially that we give to our children, which makes their mind like completely fried on like sugar dopamine rushes. It's crazy. And my mom and dad unfortunately kind of brought us up that way. It's been really bad for my health and really bad for like my mental health too. I think we're all kind of aware of like where people's health are going at the time in 2025. There's a lot of people that are obese, and I'm not here to like rub anyone's back about this. For some of you guys, you're probably obese. You are big. I'm still big, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to find like a good middle ground for myself. I'm not here to rub anyone's back. Neither am I here to like offend people. I just want to talk about this from a perspective that's like very grounded in science and biology and overall health. There are a few things regarding like body positivity and like stuff that I understand. I get that. I'm kind of in the middle ground myself of like, as long as you are aware of what you're eating, that could have an effect on things in your life. As long as you're aware of that and you feel like somewhat fine and you can do daily activities without being like feeling like you're being held back, that's fine. However, I'm not on board with the I can eat whatever the fuck I want and I feel just fine and I do whatever the fuck I want and I'm healthy. Like, that's not correct. I'm not here to tell people what to eat, but I will try to educate people on like what you could eat, potentially lose weight. I want to go back a little bit with myself first and foremost. So I was in a really unhealthy relationship with my ex. It was just not very loving. We didn't fight or anything. We had it was a great like friendship kind of courtship thing. But we ended up like falling out, and I was just feeling really depressed all the time. I ate so much crap. I think we had fast food like 5 or 6 times a week. We had candy every day and soda, and for the most part it was like sugar-free, but you know, there's only so much that sugar-free can like do for you when you're eating a really unhealthy diet on the side of that. I was getting up to like 130 kilos. And I just kind of like, when our relationship kind of like fell out, I was like, I need to do something about this. This is not me. I feel like shit. I was in pain. I had heart palpitations. I had issues. And I think everything kind of like started with a health thing because I took my second COVID shot and I got some heart issues after that. Wasn't very thrilled. And I think it just kind of spiraled down from there, that I realized that I have to do something because otherwise I'll be fucking dead. Like, I'll die. That's just reality. After we broke up, I just said, fuck the sugar. Eliminated like 99% of sugar. I think it was almost like 100%. I just took away all the sugar. I stopped eating candy. I stopped eating like sweets. I stopped eating like ketchup, because ketchup has a lot of fucking sugar in it, and like similar things that just had things that had sugar in it. I was just reading the label on everything that I purchased, and I pretty much stopped eating out. So I just made food at home, and it was usually just, you find the good things to eat so you can get back to like your original healthy self. So that's kind of what I did. And it was like super hard. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, because I've been addicted to sugar my whole life. It was the hardest thing for me I've ever done in my life. But that also kind of like puts me in the position of, if I'm this fucking addicted to sugar and I feel so fucking bad. I had the worst headaches. I was so irritated. I was just sweating, feeling angry, anxious, tired. It was like I was literally trying to get off heroin. But after a couple of weeks, I think 3-4 weeks, I started feeling a lot better. And I started like losing weight a little bit. And then I read up on the ketogenic diet. Even if I don't want to call keto a diet, it's more of a lifestyle, honestly. Your body changes when you're on keto. So for you guys who don't know, keto is basically you're not eating carbs. You're eating, I think if you're doing a really strict conservative keto, it's supposed to be like between 20 to 30 grams a day. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. However, for women, being a woman myself and after having it tried out for a while, I would say being a little bit more liberal with the carb intake is actually a good thing. There's a couple of interesting things that happens in your body if you're a female. Your down parts start smelling not bad, but it smells different because the inside of the vagina actually relies on carbs to keep like the flora down there in a particular. It's very interesting. Anyway, keto is very interesting in that regard. It changes your body. You're starting to rely on fat for energy rather than carbs. So keto changes your body. There's a lot of like interesting things to read about it. The interesting thing for me personally, science and shit aside, I noticed my body change. I lowered my heart rate between 7 to 10 beats per minute. That's quite a bit of a change. I started getting a lot more energetic. I was a lot more happy. My anxiety, I feel so much better being on keto compared to eating like carbs and sugar. It's like I just don't get that anxiety like waking up in the morning and it's like, oh God, another day. What the fuck's gonna happen today? I don't get that anymore. And it's so fantastic. I'm not sure if anyone can relate to that who's been on keto. And then there is the overall, you're feeling a kind of a relief of not constantly having the craving for sugar. Your metabolism change, so you don't get as hungry anymore. I can easily go a whole day, sometimes two, without even feeling hunger, which is good and bad depending on how you see it, but you're just not hungry in the same kind of way anymore. All of these things combined, it just makes me realize how like good this is for me. And it made me also realize that I can never ever go back to the diet that I was on before. I can probably never introduce sugar in my life the way that I did before. That's a pretty cool realization. It's also kind of sad, but I also think that if people really am feeling the things that I was feeling before, like you have heart palpitations, you're depressed, you're sad, you're overweight, you're kind of feeling almost like disabled doing daily activities, I would love for you to try to eliminate sugar out of your life. It's hard. I'm not saying you should do it, but I think you should try. Same thing with keto. If you want to go full keto, try it. You are going to lose a lot of weight because the moment the body kind of like switches around and is starting to convert the fat for energy instead of carbs, you are going to notice things. If you have some self-awareness, it's going to be really cool for you to like see the change. I'm just going to include a picture here. That's pretty much like the difference in between then and now. I want people to like, if you're going to try keto, please read. There is a lot of things you need to be aware of, like keto flu, for example. I had that. It sucked. But I want people to like read up on all of this. So I also want to talk about a little bit like what sugar is, because I don't think that a lot of people know. Back when I was streaming, I actually had an American viewer that he was talking about how he got diabetes and he didn't understand like how he got it. He was completely unaware of how this happened. He was eating kind of healthy. He wasn't eating like any candy or like sweets that much. So here's the thing. When you take in carbs into your system, it doesn't matter what kind of carbs it is. Like sure, if it's like whole grain and whole wheat and stuff like that, it's a little bit better, but it's still, when it enters your system, your body is going to start breaking it down and turning it into glucose, which affects your insulin, and your body is going to react on that. When you eat, especially high amounts of carbohydrates, your blood sugar goes up, and that's when your pancreas start releasing insulin, and that kind of acts like a key helping sugar to move from your bloodstream into your cells for energy. But if your body stops responding properly, so when sugar stays in the blood, it's going to lead to fatigue, fat storage, and long-term damage. And you can potentially end up with diabetes. And there are actually 5 major diseases that have been recently linked to high blood sugar. And that's heart disease, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, and Alzheimer's, which is often called type 3 diabetes, cancer, fatty liver, and kidney disease. If you have a high carbohydrate diet, like let's say you eat a lot of rice, pasta, noodles, pancakes, it doesn't even need to have like any sugar added into it. Just the amount of carbohydrates into your system can actually make you end up with diabetes. What you can do if you're like kind of living on the edge of like maybe getting diabetes, or maybe you already have diabetes, If you're suffering a lot from your diabetes, I would say try to minimize the intake of carbs. You are going to start feeling a difference. It might not be a huge difference, but you are going to start feeling better. What can you eat instead of carbs? Like, for example, like pasta, potatoes, rice, whatever. So there's a lot of good alternatives out there. I use cauliflower a lot myself.
Cauliflower.
There's also broccoli. Nuts and seeds is also a really good one, but you have to like check the actual nutrients on those because some have more carbs than others and so on and so forth. If you want to make like pizza dough, for example, almond flour is a great thing to replace that with. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to live kind of a normal life. You're just replacing stuff, basically. I just wanted to come on and share this with you guys because I know there's a lot of people out there that are suffering from being overweight. There's a lot of people that don't know about these things, and I'm not sure if you were here to listen to the full video, if it was worth listening to at all, but I appreciate it if you came this far, and I would appreciate if you click a thumbs up on this video and maybe also subscribe. So thank you for listening to my story about this. I really don't want the obesity epidemic to get any worse. I'm trying to educate people in the best way that I can without feeling like I'm judging people or is like telling people what to do. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.